So many cars, yet so few plugs. Welcome to the Urban EV Podcast, where we speak to industry leaders and EV owners with boots on the ground to read the tea leaves on the direction of the new energy revolution. I'm your host, Rob Hoffman. Our guest today is Dr. Felix Stracke, VP of Engineering New Mobility at Rheinmetall. If that name sounds familiar, it's likely because they're best known as a German defense contractor producing a wide range of military equipment that includes armored vehicles. But we're here today, and Rheinmetall is stepping onto our city streets with a sleek, nearly invisible curbside EV charger that could revolutionize the way we power our vehicles in dense urban areas. We'll dive into the tech, the strategy, and what it means for the future of charging in both Europe and potentially the US. Felix, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited for the pod.
Awesome. So, Felix, can you just introduce yourself and give us a quick background on Rheinmetall's history in automotive and defense?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I start with myself. I'm VP of engineering at RTC, or the Rheinmetall Technology Center. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Rheinmetall soon, but maybe as a first glimpse, Rheinmetall is a two-field company. So we are active in the civil business and in the defense business. And the Rheinmetall Technology Center is somehow an overarching organizational structure for pre-development, concept development. You can see us something like an innovation hub for the whole Rheinmetall group, which has around 35,000 employees. And like I said, our task is to be innovative and find interesting technologies that can bring the company forward. But not only look at technologies, but also bake these technologies into interesting products. For example, like the curb charger. And I'm leading one of the departments that is currently focusing on two topics. On the curb charger, and we are concurrently working on a flexible actuator that is meant for example, for exoskeletons.
You know, Rheinmetall isn't the first name people associate with curbside tech. Can you just walk us through the company's journey of how you got from defense contractor to where you are today?
So we see ourselves as an integrated technology company. And like I said, we have two foundations, the defense part and the automotive or the civil part. It has a very long history. We were founded as a defense company. And then there was the First World War, obviously, which Rheinmetall profited about because you need a lot of arms. And then you have the Versailles Treaty, where you basically are not allowed to produce any war equipment anymore. So we had to shift to the civil business. And there was the Second World War, where you have to ramp up all the ammunition and the weapon production again. And then after Second World War, as you can imagine, the company is in shackles. So we went from 85,000 employees at the end of Second World War to basically nothing. And then we had to start all over again in the civil business after Second World War, packaging industry. We did a lot of in the electronics industry, for example, precision mechanics. And then, time after time, we got ourselves back into the defense industry. What we are known for is turrets for the Leopard 2 tank, for example. That is a Rheinmetall development, the 120 millimeters. And then I think it was in the 80s, we went actually the first time into the automotive industry when we bought the automotive supplier Peerberg, which was known for carburetors and pumps and valves and so forth. In the 90s, we bought a company that's called Schmidt that was focused on pistons. So we formed basically a pretty strong and pretty renowned automotive branch that has grown over the last decades, and which was focused on, let's say, emission reduction. So that is the civil part, and as you can imagine, this civil part requires a lot of transformation. Obviously, because the old core competencies in combustion engines they're still needed today, but there is like an end date for that. Yeah,
the need is waning.
Exactly. So the idea is to obviously search for new ways how to keep revenue constant, or even better, how to increase revenue over time. There have been lots of things happening. For example, we sold the piston business. That is not part of the Rheinmetall portfolio anymore. We are trying, of course, to develop new products in the automotive business based on our skills, our strengths. Think about what can you do there. For example, build traction motors for electric vehicles. We've done developments how to protect the battery. I mean, there's tank technology or defense technology is obviously helpful to do that. We have been able to shift a lot of technologies into the EVs, but we are also looking beyond that. Yeah, for example, we're looking into driver monitoring systems. We have developed a system there, but that is not enough. Yeah, so we wanted to do more, especially when we saw that the EV market is not picking up as it was supposed to. Yeah, I mean there's always these hockey sticks, and somehow these hockey sticks come true, but yeah, there has been a little lag, and we thought, how can you overcome that, or how can you conquer that? And yeah, so the idea of the curb charger basically, or we got the idea of the curb charger at the end of 2021, and have been developing this system, let's say on a more sophisticated basis since the beginning of 2022 to grow the business beyond the classical automotive business, because as you can imagine, all the suppliers that are currently doing internal combustion components, they are all rushing into the same aspects and trying to build product portfolios in the same aspects, and that never works out too good for most of them. So we try to do something different where there's most ideally nobody else doing that.
I mean, the curbside charger is truly a novel idea. It's the first time I've ever heard of it, and it seems so obvious, and at the same time, maybe it's not. So 2021, you've obviously kept this thing under wraps for a little while. What inspired the design? And, talk to us about how it really holds up in real world wear in busy city streets.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably similar in the US. So in Germany, you have the issue that you have very narrow footpaths. Yeah, sometimes they are just, let's say, 1.20 meters wide, and then
By the way, before we even dive into this,
yeah,
because I'm realizing right now that I know what this thing looks like, and clearly you do as well. But the listeners at home, maybe when I say curbside charger, it is actually a built into the curb charger. It actually
exactly
functions as the curb. So could you describe the form factor and then kind of get into the research and development?
Exactly. Yeah. So, like you explained pretty good already, the curb charger is fully integrated into a standard curbstone. So there's nothing, coming out of the curbstone or going into the street. Everything that you require in order to charge an electric vehicle is implemented into the curbstone. Yeah, which in Germany it's probably different in the US. But in Germany, it's like 1 meter long. It's 25 centimeters in height, and it's between 12 and 15 centimeters in depth. So it's not that much volume, and you need to really squeeze the electronics into that thing. And I'm gonna talk about, or we can talk about the challenges how to do that later on if you want.
Let's dive into it right now.
Yeah.
All right. So we know the form factor. It basically, I can't tell you down to the millimeter if that's exactly the size of a curbstone in the U.S., but it sounds really close. So someone over at Rheinmetall came up with the idea, hey, let's see if we can integrate it here into the curbstone. No one else has done that before, correct? Do you believe you're the first one to come up with this concept and develop it?
Yes. I mean, the idea is obvious when you think about it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you have these narrow footpaths, in which in many cases is like 1 meter, 1.20 meters, and you don't want to stick like a charging pole there that consumes around half of that. You have the aesthetic aspect. Yeah, for example, in the city of Cologne, where we run a public pilot project, we have 12,000 heritage sites. You don't want to put a charging pole in front of a heritage site. You have the aspect that the systems need to be robust. If you look at the charging pillars, they are vandalized. People smash the displays. People put graffiti on, cars running over it. So you need to put the bollards in front of it. What you have above ground, the space limitation, you have that underground as well. Yeah, you have many supply lines: water, gas, electricity, communication. In many cases, you are not allowed to.
It's very challenging to dig in an urban environment,
Exactly.
and I can tell you, New York City, especially so.
Yes, and the last thing, and I think it's also a very important thing, in the end, somebody has to earn money with these systems. So installing chargers in the public space at the moment is very, very costly on the installation side and also on the operation side. Operation, if the systems break down, you need to put a serviceman out there. He needs to drive there, diagnose it, fix it, whatever. and that's all very costly. Yeah, I'm an engineer, so we thought, is there a better solution than what is out there? For example, the charging poles, or another innovation, I don't know if you've heard about it, is the lamppost charger.
So yeah, that's the one
Yeah.
that's getting a lot of publicity these days.
Yeah, yeah, and the idea was, can we? I mean, you have a lot of stuff already in the streets. Is it possible to find a solution that utilize or makes better utilization of things that are already in the streets? Yeah, that are widely available or everywhere available where you park, that is robust, that is cheap, and that is as close to the vehicle as possible to get rid of all the cables that you have running over the footpaths. And now, if you think about it, the curb charger is the logical outcome of the thinking process.
So can you talk to us about the specs, the power output, and maybe even most importantly, the economics of utilizing the system?
Yeah, the specs. So we are a charger that has a, let's say, normal charging speed. I think it's L2 in America. It's up to 22 kilowatt. Of course, you can do less if you don't have the power available. You log in or you authenticate as you do with a regular charging station. You go there, scan a QR code, you log in via an app. You can hold your RFID card. The difference between us and the regular charging pole is, of course, that you need to be waterproof. Germany has a lot of rain. Depending on where you are in the US, you also have a lot of rain. You need to cope with rain, and you need to also cope with flooding. I mean, it's not that often, but it can be. The curb charger is IP60, or the electronic casing is IP68 protected, that it can deal not only with rain, but also with flooding. We work a lot with, because everybody's asking that question, does it work with rain? Yes, of course it works with rain. So we work a lot with seals, with water drainages. There's a water level sensor integrated to make sure that charging is always safe and robust.
And of course, this is a bring your own cable type of setup, correct?
Yeah.
So you're not supplying the cable.
No, exactly. You have to bring your cable. I mean, it's less comfortable than if you have the cable attached, but I think for the public space, that is the way to go. What we implemented, that is maybe something interesting, because people always think, you have to bend over because you have to reach to the ground. That is uncomfortable. The curbstone could be dirty, which, by the way, fun fact, it's usually the cleanest part in the city landscape. You have the chewing gums and you have all the leaves either on the pavement, or you have it on the street. And if you develop a curb charger, then you look out for curbstones quite a lot. Yeah, so there's the dogs are not placing their
Doing their
you
business.
know what I mean. Yeah. And and what we did is we developed what we call a single hand operation. On the plug itself, there's a little hole in the plug, so that the plug can be locked within the socket. Yeah, and we use that little hole, and on the flap that hides or protects the socket, which is in the ground, and there's a little nose on it. Yeah, and with the hole you can grab the nose and open the flap with the plug. So that makes it A, comfortable, because you don't have to bend as much, and B, you don't have to make your hands dirty. So you cover basically both aspects, comfort and hygiene, with one little innovation.
All right, Felix, this all sounds amazing, and it sounds like you've figured out a lot of the potential challenges. Maybe you've already done this through market research. You understand where people are pushing back and where they have hesitation, with bending down or getting their hands dirty. And you seems like you've checked all those boxes. But no matter how good an idea is, unless the economics make sense, it's not going to happen in a market economy. Can you talk to us about installation costs and right now your experience working with municipalities? You are already beta testing this in Germany, correct?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. I'm happy you asked it, because I forgot to talk about it. So the system is a two-part system. Yeah, so you have the curbstone, which has regular curbstone dimensions, but is hollow in the middle, so to say. Yeah. And the idea is, what can you make out of a two-part system? It has two advantages. First, a lot of the costs that you have when you install charging equipment is one-time cost. Yeah, you have to plan the civil work. You have to put the material there. You have to put the equipment there. You have to put the people there. And it doesn't matter if you install one charging point or if you install like 3, 5, 10 how many. And the idea is whenever there's civil work required, for example, when you put new communication cables into the ground, when you renew a street, if you build new streets, to put more stones in there than are required based on the charging demand. Yeah. So let's say you have a street, you have a couple of electric vehicles in that street, and you would need today maybe 2, 3, 4 charging points. The idea is to not only build these 2, 3, 4 charging points, but to build, let's say, 10 curb chargers into the street that you can split the one-time cost on as many systems as possible, but put like a lid on 6 of them. Yeah. And then as the demand grows, you take the lid off, you put the electronics module in, and you are ready to charge within, I don't know, half an hour. So it's very easy to install. Also like a year or 2 years after you installed the curbstone. And it's not only for the economics of the installation, but it's also for the economics of the service. Yeah, because usually or if you have a service case, somebody has to drive there to see what has happened. And sometimes it's the case that the person who's there, usually a service contractor, doesn't have the right spare part. So what does he do? He orders the spare part, drives away. After 2 or 3 weeks, he receives the spare part. He drives back, puts the spare part in. With our system, because it's so easy to deploy, you can also take it out very easily. And the idea is that the serviceman doesn't do the repair on site. You can do small repairs on site, no worries, but that you interchange the module. Yeah. So you only have to drive there once.
It's modular. It's just plug and play. You pull the old one out, you put the new one in, and you bring that back to the repair shop to fix it on your own.
Exactly. So you don't have the revenue loss. You can limit the service cost because you only have to go once. And we think it's a very big advantage. And like I said, it's a very robust system. So you can drive over it. It's waterproof. It's because you don't see it as much as a charging pillar. People don't tend to vandalize. At least that's what we see in the field. And we have done 1 year of field testing in the city of Cologne, for example, also in other cities. And fortunately, I have to knock on wood. I'm not sure if it's if you say the same in the US, but
that touch wood, knock on wood is one of those things. It's absolutely universal, every language.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So we haven't seen any vandalism. Yeah. So we think that not only in the deployment, but also in the maintenance or in the operation.
Well, I'd love to hear more about that pilot program in Cologne. Talk to us more about the case studies or what the reaction has been, the pluses, the minuses. What have you learned from it? Yeah. And what does it tell you about the future of curbside charging?
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, whenever there's an innovation, people are very skeptical, yeah? Or not all people are skeptical, but some are skeptical. And I already talked about some of the things that people might have in mind that don't work. For example, water, yeah? If you install a socket in the vertical orientation, that if you ask somebody, most people would say that's dumb. Why did we do it? It's a comfort feature, yeah, because it's way easier to plug like vertically in the street level than to plug horizontally. So we had to make the vertical orientation work somehow. So water is the first one. Then second one is dirt, leaves, stones, dust, whatever. How do the systems look like after a certain amount of time? Third one is snow. So what happens if it snows? You're not going to see it. You're going to have all the snow in the socket. What about if the city puts salt into the streets? Is it going to corrode? Whatever. So you have all these people that have the technical that doubt that the technical side is going to work, and you have the people that say nobody's going to use it because there's the dogs that are going to mark the plugs. Older people are not going to be able to use it because they have to bend, and so forth.
And these are all valid concerns. This is the reason why you do case studies.
I fully agree. I mean, if you're an engineer, you are at least interested in how a company has solved it. So I would have probably asked myself the same questions like the people that raised them. Maybe I would have raised them in another way. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. And the pilot project was meant to check on these concerns. Yeah. So is the technology ready? Did we really solve all the issues that could arise that I just named? Are people going to be happy with it? Yeah, how are they going to rate the systems, especially in comparison to regular charging pillars? And the last one, do people actually use it? I mean, that's the most important thing. Yeah, I mean, the technology can work and people can say it's cool, But I think the most important one is that somebody actually uses it, because if it's not going to be used, then whoever puts it into the ground is not going to have a business case.
So you've had these up and running in Cologne for a year now, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So
You have a lot of these answers to your questions.
yeah. So why did we do a year? A year has all 4 seasons. So you have the spring when you have all the pollen. Yeah, let's say the pollen. In summer, it's very hot. In autumn, it's windy. All the leaves are falling. It's very wet. And you have the winter where it's very cold. You have snow. The cities are going to put salt on the streets. And we wanted to test it in all these 4 seasons. Yeah, we have basically just finalized the testing, or we've concluded this 1 year. The technology was very robust, so we had an availability of over 99% over that year, which is very good. Yeah,
Yes.
if you look at other charge point operators, sometimes they're happy if they reach 95 or 97%. We reached more than 99%, and you have to. I mean, it was a prototype then. Yeah, it was not a serious product, but it was a prototype. So it worked pretty good. I'm not saying that we didn't optimize things. Yeah, there's always stuff that you can optimize, but there was no like showstopper. Yeah, we improved, for example, the dirt management a little bit. Yeah, so there was especially when there was longer durations when there was no water, because water always cleans the system. When there's longer duration, when there was no water, we can see that there's a little bit of dirt accumulating around the socket. Not within the socket, because that would have had a functional impact, but around the socket. So it was more like an aesthetic aspect for the user. So technology was pretty robust. Then we had, how do people actually use it? We had more than 2,800 charging sessions in Cologne on 4 curbstones, which I think is pretty good. We had a 60% of the time the systems were in use. We charged more than 55 megawatt hours. So the numbers were very good, and the partner in Cologne, the Tank E, was very happy with these numbers.
60% utilization is a fantastic number, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one is, how do the customers rate the product? So we had like a QR code hanging there, and people could just scan it and anonymously vote. Because anonymous votes is always more honest if you stand next to somebody and ask him, how do you like it? We achieved an overall rating of 4.4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I mean, there's always somebody who is not 100% happy, but that is fine. And on most of the aspects, if you compare a regular charging station to the curbstone was rated better. Yeah, I mean, some of them are obvious. Obviously, it makes less street clutter. It looks nicer. It's not as space consuming. It doesn't conceal visual accesses. Where we were a little bit worse than a charging station is in terms of visibility. I mean, that's obvious, but you can mark the parking space. What we didn't expect, though, and I think that's a very important aspect, is the ergonomics. The ergonomics was, and that's not a joke, everybody can read it. There's a case study published. At the moment, it's only in German, but it's going to be released in English. Everybody can read that. And we were actually rated better in terms of ergonomics and in terms of barrier freeness, so to say.
Yeah, it's not going to hinder your egress into your car now. There's no post over there. I mean, it seems like everything you said makes sense. You've got the plug on the top, so you don't really have to bend down. If you really want, you step down on the street level. That gives you a few extra inches. You plug straight down. It all seems to make, once again, a lot of sense on paper, and I guess that was supported by the results of this study.
Yeah, if you talk to the people, they tell you exactly what you just said. It's easier to park because you're not afraid that you crash something. You can use it from the street level, which is also an advantage for people sitting in a wheelchair, because you don't have to go onto the pavement level. You can use it single-handedly. You can use the gravitational force to plug in. Yeah, lots of advantages. And luckily, not only the engineers see it like this, but also the people out there. And that is very important.
So it sounds like this study was a success. How soon, or what are your plans to go to the market?
Yeah, we implemented some optimizations to make it easier to, let's say, build for us, easier to service, but also for the dirt management, for example, that is implemented now. And we just launched the series production. We are currently ramping up. Yeah. So we're building it in smaller volumes to check if everything is all right. And the first customers have already gotten their delivered products. Yeah. For example, I don't know if you know the city of Düsseldorf, which is, I don't know, 50 kilometers away from Cologne, rivaling cities. So they just deployed 12 curb chargers a couple of weeks ago, and at least until now, they also seem, or they are very happy. They just put a post on LinkedIn, 100% functionality, lots of people using the systems. So yeah, we are doing city by city. I mean, we are not known for charging infrastructure, so we have to develop a brand. We have to convince people that we can not only do like automotive components and military stuff, but that we are also experts in that segment. We need to build up all the sales channels. We need to build up the service organization and so forth. So there's still a lot to do to make that product successful.
Of course. So it's obviously this is a homegrown German product, and it sounds like your roadmap is going to start with Dusseldorf and surrounding German cities. What are your expansion plans once you get momentum and you sort of start scaling up production? We're going to go from here.
So the first country is Germany, because Rheinmetall brand is a German brand, and we are somehow known in Germany. And it was better to do a pilot project close by, because if something doesn't run as supposed, then the technicians, the engineer can just drive there. And it's also good for documentation purposes. So we're currently focusing on Germany to get everything set up here, that everything is running fine, that the customers are happy. So we do like a stepwise approach, not rush into everything and then screw it up. The next country is going to be the UK, where we're currently setting up pilot projects similar to Germany, that they can also make their own experience, hopefully come to the same conclusion like the Germans do, that it's a cool product that works. And after that, we're going to do other European countries. For example, the Southern European countries, they are very interesting because they have similar issues. The streets and the pavements are even narrower than they are in Germany. They have very nice historic inner cities. The Nordic countries are very interesting. And yeah, there's lots of inquiries coming from these countries to ask, can we buy the curb charger? Can we test it? Can we deploy it? And we have to put the foot on the brake a little bit and say, yes, at some stage you can, but let us set up everything that you could get a good customer experience.
Well, that's a good problem for Rheinmetall to have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm assuming here you're not even going to have an answer for me, but what is it going to take to get these installed on U.S. streets? And do you have any plans of exploring partners or pilots over here?
Yeah, I mean, North America is also very interesting, and fortunately, there's some inquiries from there as well. We have been thinking about it. At the moment, it's not our first priority. We want to sort out or get Europe running, but yeah, we're definitely thinking about it. I think we need to probably optimize or let's say adjust the product a little bit towards the US and American market. Maybe we have some different norms that apply or standards, so we need to check whether we need to make some adjustment on that side. I think you are working with a different connector or a different socket. So in Germany, we use the Type 2. I think you use a Type 1. So you would need to change that. You have a different mains voltage. So that is...
Yeah, that's the voltage thing I figured was going to be the biggest
exactly. Well, it's all minor changes. You have different curb sizes, so we need to look into that more deeply. We need to have the US certification, so we have CE in Europe, and we have, I think, UL in the US. So yeah, there's still some stuff to do, but it's on our, let's say, on our screen. Maybe we can have the chance to talk a little bit about it. if what is your perspective? Does the US need a product like the curb charger, or do you think it would not be successful?
Well, I know. Listen, I was excited to speak to you because sure, my wish list here would arrive in New York City tomorrow.
Yeah,
there was I've spoken about this very positively. New York City, by U.S. standards, was ahead of the ball in 2021. There was a pilot program to set up level 2 public charging throughout the streets of New York, and it's pilot, right? It's a very limited. I happen to have Flow, which is a Canadian company. There's some public charging stations near me, and I actually am a big fan of theirs. But I know from the economics, something which I was harping on earlier, they're pretty expensive to install. You got to rip up the whole sidewalk, not just the curb. And you've got the whole unit there as well. It works spectacularly well. I think they're very reliable. I think they've got really good uptime reliability and terrific utilization. They're overutilized. It's challenging actually to find some free time on them because there aren't enough. I do see this as a solution that would be widely embraced in New York City because we do live in a charging desert, as most cities are. People that don't have a driveway and want an EV, you've really got to do a lot of soul searching and say, hey, does this make sense? Can I make it work? Without ready access to level 2 charging, it's really challenging to have an EV in the city.
Yeah, and I mean that's very unfortunate because what we see here, there's studies about it. People are way more likely to buy an EV if they have a charging station nearby their house. Yeah, I mean it cannot be like kilometers away, but if it's within the reach of their house, couple of 100 meters, the chance to buy an EV is like, I don't know how much higher, but it's way higher. So
Bingo.
I think the cities should aim for having as many charging stations in the cities as possible to make or to convince people to actually buy an EV, because that is gonna help bring the EV adoption up quite a lot. So yeah, I think the curb charger would be very beneficial, especially for cities that are very dense and where you don't, like you said, where you don't have the opportunity to have like a driveway, a garage where you can put a wall box, because obviously a wall box is going to be cheaper than the curb charger. It doesn't have to be waterproof. You don't have to be able to drive over it with a heavy duty
If I parked my car in a garage and I could install one of those, I would do it in a heartbeat, but it's just simply not an option.
Yeah, you can also install a curb charger in your driveway. That I can only encourage you to do that.
There is a novel system in New York, Brooklyn based. I've spoken about them several times, called It's Electric. And what they've done is they are starting to install stalls in pilot cities. New York is not one of them just yet. But what they're doing is they're utilizing the power of private buildings, untapped, unused power. And then essentially they're fronting the cost to install these kiosks near the curb, which is also bring your own plug. And you can utilize those as well. And that's what's nice about that is it's not relying on the city or the state to finance the installation. Yeah. So that's another system that's starting to get rolled out here in the US. Nice. And I'm really bullish on their system as well. But we need everybody, all hands on deck here. You know, we need public, we need private, we need all enterprises. Yeah. And there's such an insanely large need for electricity for EVs that one entity alone is not going to get it done.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at your home, probably you're going to have, at each wall, you're going to have multiple sockets to plug whatever. Yeah, your vacuum cleaner, your iron, whatever. And I think together we can achieve that. We can have something similar in the cities. And best case, it's not obtrusive in the city. Yeah, so you don't take away space from, let's say, pedestrians, from a bike or cyclists, from whoever, but that you have a charging infrastructure which is inclusive and doesn't take something away from somebody else, because that by definition cannot be a perfect solution.
Yeah, your solution does that, and I recognize that right away. It takes away nothing. And if, once again, the economics can make sense and the city can get behind it, either with permitting, sure, it'd be nice to get tax benefits or any kind of subsidies. But at the very least, but the city still has to get behind it. It is still a public space. So you have to work with government.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we would need to get somebody to help us to do that.
You need a lobbyist. I'm doing my best right here from this podcast, but you may need someone. I may be able to connect you with someone, actually, so we can talk after the podcast.
To the mayor of New York, so we can have a discussion how to supply New York with as many sockets as somehow possible.
Well, the whole mayor's race in New York City right now, I don't know if you're paying attention. That's such a hot button topic right now, which I don't want to get into. I've got strong opinions, and I'm not really into politics over here on this podcast, so I'll save them for myself.
That's better. I agree.
Okay, so what's on the roadmap for curbside tech? Like, where do we go from here? Let's just say in this perfect world, everything goes swimmingly well. You install all throughout Europe, and my dream comes true, and you come here to New York City as well. But are there any potential enhancements on the roadmap? Faster charging, bi-directional, integration with smart city systems? Are you worried about any of that right now, or just like, let's just get the level 2 charging out there and do it right?
No, of course I do care about that, because whenever you stop innovating, somebody else, let's assume it's going to be successful, somebody else is going to copy it somehow. And if you don't innovate, the other one is gonna overtake you. Yeah, it's in every industry with every product. Once it's successful, you're gonna have competitors all over the place. So our idea is of course to innovate further. I mean, the product, it's pretty robust. It has the standard functionality, what you need. You have the dynamic load management. You can do over-the-air updates, or whatever. You can implement it into your energy management system at home or in the city, or let's say with office buildings. I can't talk about everything, but let me try to take you where we are thinking. It would be great if you would know if that, I mean, you can see it in the app. Is somebody charging at that charge point? Yeah. What you don't see if is the charging spot or the parking space, is it actually free? Yeah, because there's internal combustion engines, vehicles blocking it. There's other EVs, whatever, blocking it. Yeah, so it would be very good as a customer to not only know is nobody charging, but also can I put my car there? That is number one. The second one is like you already said, bidirectional charging. We're currently working on that because I think that would be a great support for the grid if you have millions of electric vehicles in the future that are
Big time. Big
yeah,
time. If
exactly.
you have millions of vehicles that are plugged into the grid,
Yeah,
the power
exactly.
goes both ways. When there's a brownout or a blackout, they can basically feed the grid. And that's
Exactly.
an amazing resource for a city
Yeah.
to have.
So we need, like I said, we need as many sockets as possible, and these need to be bidirectional charging. So we are working on that, and probably with the next version, the system will support that. Another thing that we want to do is the supervision, the health monitoring of the systems. Yeah, to know if everything is fine, except for is somebody charging there and how much energy has flown, whatever. To see if everything is fine, and if something's not fine, to be able to repair it, maybe even before something breaks.
I'm going to put something in the suggestion box right now.
Yeah.
Through my experience here using the Flow chargers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term, ICE, internal combustion engine. So us EV drivers in the United States, when you go to a public charger, whether it's level 2 or level 3, and there's an internal combustion engine vehicle parked loitering there, you've been iced. That's that. Even though the signs will be there and say this is for EVs only, but of course some people do disregard that. So you look on the app and it says this charger is free. You drive over there, and yet it's not truly free. So my suggestion is you can do this because you're Rheinmetall and you know how to build robust equipment. Put a little camera in there so you can actually identify whether that space is truly clear or not. Do that, and I think, boom, you're going to get 5 stars, not 4.4 stars on your reviews moving forward.
Yeah, we are working in that direction. And what else are we doing? We are working on a plug-in support. So you can, if you have your type 2 cable and you're not able to reach down there for whatever reason because you're mobility impaired, you can buy for very low cost. You can buy somehow like a stick that you can attach to your cable that is very easy to plug and unplug, that you can reach down there. We are working on improvement. I mean, make the product cheaper. Obviously, we're working on that. We are working on how to actually make the installation cheaper, because at least in Germany, it has become the norm that you put the cable in at least 60 centimeters depth, which you need to do a lot of earth work. And our idea is to why not put the cable directly below the surface, because it's easier you don't have to dig as much. It's easier to extend. And once you do whatever groundwork that you want, you see the cable directly, because in Germany it often happens because all the installations are not put into like maps. Yeah, you don't know what's down there. And sometimes it happens that you damage the cables, which is very expensive to repair. Yeah, so put the cable directly under the pavement. That is something that we work on. And the last thing is, you can also put different modules inside. Yeah, so you don't have to necessarily put a charging module in there, but you could put other modules in there. Smart city.
That's
whatever.
clever as well, and that gives you a lot of power to upgrade and kind of future proof yourself.
Yeah, so that's some ideas for the competition to catch up. Nah, just kidding. Yeah, I mean that's our ideas, and I hope that we get these ideas into the product, into the market as quickly as possible.
Well, it's super exciting, and like I said, I can't wait to see you make it to New York. I'll be counting the days, and maybe it's going to be years, but either way, I really look forward to seeing the implementation.
Yeah, I hope that I hope so too. Whenever you are in Germany, you are very welcome to check out the curb chargers yourself. Yeah. So it's not just a video on the internet or a picture or a case study, whatever, but get your hands onto one of them. And yeah, if we can make it possible to install one of them in New York or which city ever in the US, I would be very happy to do that. Yeah.
That's
Because I
wonderful. I
think
got some family in Munich, so
yeah,
not
perfect.
Cologne, but if you're making it over there, there's a chance someday I'll be there and rent an EV and give it a shot.
Yeah, I think you can be quite sure that some of the systems will also find their way into the city of Munich.
Wonderful.
I'm not sure when, but there will be a time.
Seems like it's going to be there sooner than it's going to be in New York, but either way, I think the future is bright. All right, that just about does it for time, Felix. Really appreciate having you on the show over here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. It was a very interesting discussion. Very glad that you came up with or that you came across the curb charger. Yeah, and it was very interesting to talk to you and hope to see you in person at some stage. And maybe we can open the first curb charger in New York City or wherever together. That would be very exciting.
Partnership with the Urban EV podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's it for today's Curbside Chat. A huge thank you to Dr. Felix Stracke and the team at Rheinmetall for rethinking what's possible when it comes to charging in our cities. If we're going to build an EV future that works for everyone, not just the driveway elite, this kind of innovation will be key. For more EV insight and commentary, a reminder to follow us here or on your favorite social media or streaming platform. Like, subscribe, and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Your reviewer feedback is always appreciated. The road to sustainability starts at the plug, and that's why we're here. We will see you all next week on a new episode of the Urban EV Podcast.